Hello, everyone. I'm Cindy Culbertson, and this is Heather Cartwright, and we're the Chatty Quilters. And it feels like it's been a while since we've chatted with you all, but we're ready for a new year. 2024 is here, and we're ready to go. We're going to show you some things that Heather's working on today. I have my I Spy quilt in the background, and she's working on a special one as well. And so we'll talk about that in a few minutes. Heather, how's your new year going so far? 2 days into it.
I had to question when you said we're ready for the new year because I'm definitely not ready for the new year. There's been a little chaos in my life. So lots of traveling over the holidays. I feel very not ready. But one of my toxic traits is when I'm overwhelmed, I start a new project. So that's what I've done is just started this I Spy quilt because, when you don't want to think about all the things you should be doing, you have to create something that you want to do, right?
That's right. I agree. And we've had to take care of family and family issues over the break, both of us. And so obviously sewing and finding time to sew, whatever that looks like, is extremely important. Do you make goals or resolutions
Well,
or nothing? Not at all.
I used to be a diehard resolution maker. Um, but the older I get, I think I just want to give myself more grace. So I have maybe more direction I want to go or more things I want to focus on being better at, but not like a checklist. Because then when I fail, it's just so big. And I need like little wins along the way. What
So
about you?
I think that's the difference. I used to do resolutions, have the list, that felt like you were setting yourself up, right? And so I think being older comes with wisdom. So I'm smart enough not to do that anymore. Always, always, and I know you're the same way. We have goals throughout the year, that you always reevaluate those and figure out, kind of pivot what's next, what you want to do. I know
Things
that.
you want to learn?
Correct, correct.
Yeah.
And that's going to be on my list in the quilting world, all different things that I haven't tried. As you know, I texted you and pulled out some hexies. I've never sewn hexies, so we will see how that goes. Not ready to show anything yet, but we will, do something different. I also thought, as we chatted, I have the next 5 quilts, everything's sitting there ready to go. And I said, oh, I'm going to cut those out in the next week or so and have them ready to sew. And then, as you said, that's going to be a lot of cutting and might not want to do that all at once. So we'll see how that goes. But first on my list, not necessarily resolutions or goals, but which quilts that, since sewing is, a priority this year, which quilts do I want to work on next? So that's a lot of fun.
And I am doing kind of the same thing, trying to get organized. I haven't had a sewing room since we left Idaho. So I have a sewing corner. You'll see it today. And so I don't have a lot of space to keep my fabric and I miss just being able to walk over to a wall of, fabric and pull whatever I want. But I do have my projects in those 12 by 12 arch totes.
Mhm.
And so I can just pull one out. They stack up nicely. I can pull one out and work on it and then put it away so it's not, spread all over the dining room table or something like that.
Right. And
Yeah.
that's what I think is key. So my next question is, are you one of those people that start cleaning and organizing at the beginning of a new year? Is that, that's just two things. Everybody that you see, oh, cleaning and organizing, this is the year we're going to get organized, especially with those scraps, right? Or obviously the gyms are, the most memberships in January. We all know it probably doesn't last long, but same thing with cleaning and organizing. You start January really good. Do we stick with it? So is that something that you kind of get renewed energy to do at the first of the year as you're putting Christmas away and those things, or it's not
I
priority?
organization has never been part of me. So that's a
Okay.
tough question. I'm the kind of person I make my list of quilts that I want to make during the year. I used to do this every January 1st. I'd sit down with my notebook. make a list of all the projects I wanted to finish, quilting projects, quilts I wanted to make. I have, you know, Pinterest boards and all sorts of things. And then by the end of the year, not once was I ever able to find that list or that notebook. So that's the epitome of my organization. So I don't even set myself up for that anymore. Doug's very organized. He's the one that starts like digging in, and you know, he just took down the Christmas tree this morning, and he's dusting and he's vacuuming and he's doing all those things, and I'm like cheering him on.
I'm the same way. I've got to get everything cleaned up after Christmas, everything put away, all the tubs relabeled, organized. I'm not the most organized person, but I do need it to be in order and everything cleaned up. So this time of year, speaking of next projects and quilts, as soon as the first of the year hits, I have a thing. I love red, and I just love red. You know that. And so that prompts me to, I have heart quilt patterns that I've always wanted to make. I don't know. But because I'm not organized enough, I can't find them when I need them. I need them in January. I want to finish them. So I'm looking for a few of those. I found one this morning, and I thought maybe this is the year, if I hurry up and get with it, that by February 14th, I can have, you know, the popular pattern, Exploding Heart. I think I've bought it 3 times and I can't find one copy. I keep thinking I'm going to make that.
I love that one.
Yeah.
And we know you can do it now because you showed us with your Christmas quilt that when you have accountability, you get things done.
Yeah, I probably should have thought twice before I just spit that pattern out, but yeah, so that's kind of on my list. So why don't we get right in and you tell us what you're working on and what you're doing?
Okay, I have a cameraman here and he's going to show you. I've been working on some I Spy quilts for my grandkids, and I've always loved I Spy. Let's show them this right here on the ironing board. So these are probably upside down, but this is a panel of these little squares of cute little things. And I cut them apart and I'm doing square in a square, and I'm making these for my grandkids because I think they'll just love finding, you know, if they each have their own quilt and you can say, let's find the popsicle, you know, and see who can find it first. So I'm self-taught, which I'm sure a lot of you are. I'm going to put my phone here so you can see me, and Doug will video from there. I'm self-taught, so I probably do a lot of things the wrong way, but they work for me. And so I'm just going to kind of show you what I've been doing here with these square in a squares. As you can tell, and I don't know if you can, but these squares aren't printed straight. Rarely is any fabric printed, right? Plaids give me bits. But I cut them on the lines because I need them to be that 3 inches that they were printed. And my goal is to obviously sew a little triangle on all 4 sides. And so when I go to cut that triangle, I'm just making sure it's a 1/4 inch smaller than my square. So if you just take your square, this is a 3 inch square, and 2 3/4 inch for the square that I'm going to cut diagonally. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So the second thing is you could sew them like this on your, you know, with the dark side. But if you flip it over, you can see how much of the points are on each end, and it's easier to eyeball that. This point, for anyone who hasn't done these, that's your seam allowance. And so you need that to stick out at least a 1/4 inch on each side before you stitch. So I'm going to just put this down, and you're going to notice there's some lines on my sewing machine. And a lot of people are probably cringing, but I drew these lines with permanent marker. Can you see them okay?
That's committed.
It's committed.
Some of us use tape, right? Some of us.
But tape kind of wears and gets in the way.
I agree.
So these lines help me when I'm doing triangles, half square triangles or whatever. I can line it up a 1/4 inch out either way. I can line it up right on the point. So yeah, they're kind of rubbing off. I just re-sharpie them whenever I need it.
I love that idea, actually.
So what I'm going to do is sew these on, and instead of going around in a circle, I'm going to sew them on to the sides opposite each other first. So I'm flipping that over. Again, I'm going to eyeball the seam allowance and use my black line here. And so I've got both of the sides sewn on. Now at this point, if you were really detail oriented, you would probably press it and trim off the little triangles. That is not me. So I finger press these and then I go on to the next. So I'm going to put this one down and I'm just going to let those little things hang over until I'm ready to trim everything. So I'm lining this up with the 1/4 inch on each side again. And I'm going to, I hope that's not terribly loud.
I can't hear it at all.
Oh, good. I'm going to do the same thing as sew these on both sides so that I can open them up and press it. And then I end up with my cute little unpressed block here. And even though these aren't square and printed nicely, I have enough give here that when I trim it, it's going to be okay. So then I usually hand it over to my iron boy and he irons it for me, but he's filming. So I'm going to show you, I'm going to.
So you have to press yourself. Oh, darn.
This is terrible. I have to press myself. No, actually, we didn't turn it on. So it's warming up. So we're going to move on and I'll show you on the next block. So this is all finger pressed nicely. And what I'm going to do here is use just a regular ruler, and I'm not going to use the grid on my cutting mat to trim this, but I'm going to line up this center line with the points of my diamond here. And then I'm going to kind of take a look at this corner up here, and you can see that it's pretty darn close to being a 1/4 inch away. And I'm just going to inch it a little closer, but not compromise too much these points, because that's what's going to keep my block nice and square. And I'm going to do that side first, and then I'll just rotate around. It really doesn't matter what order you rotate these in, because since you are keeping that diamond in the middle, it's going to keep your block nice and square. And we'll just trim this up. Trimming is probably my least favorite thing. What is your least favorite thing?
Yeah, trimming ranks right up there, that's for sure. So the square in the square is really a good pattern for those little I Spy pieces.
I'm trying to get it so that it's the right side up.
Little French fries.
It is. They
Super.
are they're really, really cute size. So then once you get this first square in the square done, you're going to cut the second set of triangles the exact same size, not a 1/4 inch smaller. And the reason I do that is because I want to have a lot of wiggle room to trim my block. You could go a 1/4 inch smaller, but you know, if you don't press and iron every step, you might need that extra little bit.
Right.
So then I'm going to just do the same thing. And you'll notice I have more like a 1/2 inch on each side, but as long as it's centered and balanced, we're good. And I don't start here. Obviously, I'm going to still keep my 1/4 inch seam allowance, or my 3/8 inch seam allowance. My sewing machine just came unthreaded. I love my Juki so much. It doesn't usually come unthreaded much, and it is so fast and such a good stitch. When I'm piecing, you guys, when I'm on camera, I can't thread a machine. What are you kidding? I left my glasses in Idaho. When I'm piecing, I typically use about a 2.1, 2.2 stitch. What do you use, Cindy?
I think it's 2.1.
Yeah, and you know, I wouldn't go any smaller than 1.8, because what if you had to unpick?
Right.
But anything bigger than 2.2 seems to be too loose to me. So another reason when you're sewing this block to put the triangle on the bottom is you can see, zoom in, the exact spot where you want that to cross. So you can see that these stitches, that's my 1/4 inch, and I want my sew line to stitch right to a hair to the right of that.
That accurate point then.
So when I'm sewing along, I can kind of make sure that that goes right along that edge. so that when I open it up, I don't lose my point. And I probably got a little close because I cut it off just a hair. Thank goodness my grandkids won't care. So that's
pretty good
what
from here.
yeah, see, I crossed it a little on the wrong side, but don't do what I do what I say. So then we will sew both sides on and trim. So before, pretend this isn't on there, before I do this, I typically will just trim the same way that I did before. The center line is down the middle of the block. And just make a nice straight edge for myself. If you don't have to do that part, but if you don't, I just throw things on the ground. If you don't, then Cindy's face.
That's why I clean, Cindy.
No wonder Doug was vacuuming earlier. Okay.
Breathe.
This episode more than ever, I understand that we aren't as much alike as I thought, because that just about put me out of my chair. I just about had a heart attack. I do know when you look at a lot of quilters, there are a lot of them that just throw their threads on the floor. I'm of the opinion that if you just put a little trash can there, it'll just hit. You can throw them and they'll land in there. And even if you're 50-50, you're cleaning less. I guess it's because I'm lazy, Heather, because I just clean them up later.
You're lazy? Are you kidding me? Throwing them on the floor is the height of lazy.
No, but they have to be cleaned up later. Somebody has to clean them up later.
I know. He loves it.
I bet if we take a poll on our Facebook group, I bet you're going to get about 50-50. And, there's still the old Eleanor Burns throwing the scraps, behind your head and, all of that. But again, I'm of the opinion somebody has to clean that stuff up later. So
I did better.
That's super cute.
One episode. Cameraman. There we go.
Okay, so does that finish your block when you do the second square and a square?
That finishes my block. And then I can trim my block down to the size so they're all the exact same size. Mm-hmm. And when I do that, I'm probably, gonna do a test block first, of course, but I may use the grid on my mat to do that and find, so that it's very square, or maybe a square ruler, or I know there's lots of different cool rulers that are out there. Is the iron hot? Okay, so once I'm done with the block, I'm going to hit it with the Laura Star, which is my new toy, and it's so cool. Steam.
Love it.
Lays that block perfectly flat, and I'm ready to trim. And that's what I'm working on. So each night I just do, I don't know, 10 or 12
therapy.
Yeah, it's the best therapy ever. While we're watching TV, I'm just sewing away. Doug has to turn it up a little louder, but it's fine. He loves it.
Well, he gets to do whatever he wants because he vacuums your threads up.
That's right. Exactly. Yes.
Well, I love that. So you'll keep us posted on your progress, of course. So now you have to be accountable. We're going to start the new year with your accountability now. So we'll wait a little bit longer on what I come up with. But
well, I have them to make. So, it might be next Christmas. I'm not going to lie.
Okay, so that's the deadline, right?
That's the deadline. Yep.
So how big is the finished quilt going to be?
I'm going to do about maybe 48 by 60. I want to put Minky on the back, so I don't want to make it bigger than 60. So just a nice crib size that they can pack around, snuggle up on the couch. They could put it on top of their toddler beds if they want, but more of a just snuggle quilt.
Yeah, that sounds great. I can't wait to see the finished quilts. Coming up, we are still planning on going to QuiltCon in February, so we've got some plans to make there. Heather's been on the road and now she's home for a little while and finding time to sew, so that's great. Maybe not so road weary. And then we're still discussing the retreats, what that's going to look like. So everyone stay tuned for that. just trying to figure out how large of a group we can handle and those kinds of details. And what else, Heather? Anything else you can think of?
If you've ever made an I Spy quilt, would love to see yours. Post it on the group. Does everyone know the difference between the group and the Facebook page? So there's a Facebook group and a page. Both are important. I know we have a lot more members of the group than we have followers on the page. So here's the difference. The group is going to house things like tutorials and files and things you would want to reference back to. And that's a place where we all share our ideas, share what we're working on, inspire each other. The Facebook page is where we will do our live feed. So if we're at a fabric store or if we're at an event, we're going to do Facebook Live on the page. So that's why you'll want to follow both. You'll want to like the page and join the group so that you don't miss out on anything.
Yeah, and don't forget to like and subscribe our YouTube channel, the Chatty Quilters. And we look forward to what's coming in the new year. So
Yes, we do lots of sewing
yes,
this year.
yes. Stay tuned, everyone, and we'll see you next time.
Have
Bye-bye.
a good week. Bye-bye.